Welcome into Inside the Icebox here on the ESPN Houston YouTube channel, talking all things Houston Astros with myself, Joe George, and Jeremy Branham from the Killer Bees. As always, today's show is brought to you by Blue Star Tequila, the world's first and only night harvested tequila. It's tequila at its natural, unfiltered best, made with 100% blue agave and totally additive free. You can find it near you at bluestartequila.com. Keep that in mind because we will be giving away 2 bottles of Blue Star Tequila on today's podcast. So stick around here for a little bit to find out how you can win that. But today on the show, we're going to talk about the Astros trade deadline, their needs. It's right around the corner. We'll talk about a Cy Young candidate on this team not named Hunter Brown, and just the latest goings on with Lance McCullers and the Astros. Let's start here, Jeremy, with the deadline. We're right around the corner. It's like 50 days away at this point. But like, rumors are starting to heat up. We're starting to see the stories, guys who are and are not going to be available. The questions are obviously, what are the Astros' biggest needs? And we'll start there. What is the top priority for you at the deadline for this team?
Are we right around the corner?
We're pretty close. It's
50
June.
days is right around the corner.
In baseball, that feels like right around the corner.
I've seen a lot of these primers. I saw Jeff Passan had his big one. Ken Rosenthal, I think, had some stuff.
Yep.
Chandler Rome did a local one.
That makes me feel like things are heating up. The stove is heating.
I do a primer of my own with an Astros angle, but I wait till July. Like I wait till I think I even waited like the middle of July. I'll see when I do it this year. It feels like it's starting earlier this year. I feel like people are searching for content.
I think so too. I think people are ready for this trade deadline's good clickbait. I click on it.
It is good clickbait.
Yeah. So that's why we're talking trade deadline.
Yeah.
Click.
No,
like, subscribe.
What's the biggest need for the Astros? See, this is why it's like, okay, 30 days from now, the conversation can be totally different.
For
and
sure.
how many trades will happen from June 12th through July 12th? Probably not many. There'll be fewer in this 30-day gap than there will in the final 15 days of July. But whatever. Are you getting Yordan Alvarez back?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Is Jose Altuve still playing left field? Most days?
Most days, yes, I would say.
I would like Brandon Lau.
Okay.
Like, I think that a left-handed bat is the most important thing. Some people might say starting pitching, which is fair. Now, starting pitching is going to be more expensive. And the Astros don't have a tremendous minor league system. They have a few pieces that would be attractive, but not. I mean, Dana Brown did a pretty good job of collecting a bunch of 4A players last year and getting Yusei Kikuchi, a trade that I hated at the time that I love today, even though you didn't re-sign Yusei Kikuchi. I will say a left-handed bat that can play second base, that is capable of playing second.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty similar. I would say a left-handed bat that can play second base or left field. I like having Jose Altuve in left field. I do think it makes this team better. But if you're Dana Brown and you're out there and you're looking at what trades are possible and who is not available, and it's like, okay, this team wants some of our prospects, but they have a left fielder, not a second baseman. Jose Altuve just moves back to second base, and it solves the problem that way. Now, yes, it does ruin some things defensively, but I think it gives you, at least for this year, some flexibility in that way. I'm like you, I would prefer a second baseman over a left fielder, but again, if the best player that you can get is a left fielder, I think that's the approach you have to take. I think you have to add a lefty to this lineup, and to me, it's really the only position is left field or second base where you can add. Now, we'll talk about center field here in a couple minutes about if you're going to trade away from your big league roster, but like, I don't think you're, calling on teams for lefties in center field. Like, that's also going to be pricey. So I'd say a lefty, second baseman, or left fielder. And yeah, I do think you need another starting pitcher because even in the next, 50 days or so, we'll have more of a sample size on Lance McCullers. Yes. We might see Spencer Arrighetti before the trade deadline. I'm not totally sure. The Astros will have a better idea of Christian Javier, but I think you have to add a starting pitcher as well.
It's going to be tough to do. It's going to be competitive, the starting pitching market. And I'm not sure. I mean, I have to go back and get a taste of where the Astros were last year. I feel like they might be in a better spot this year than they were last year when they traded for Kikuchi. Hunter and Fromber have been terrific. Lance is at least a rotational starting pitcher. Like, he's proven that he belongs in a rotation. Mm-hmm. How good? We can talk about that later. I like Colton Gordon. Like, I'm a Colton Gordon fan. Like, he knows how to get guys out. He knows how to pitch.
Yeah.
Like, I think that he is a solid rotational piece. Gusto has flashed. He's flashed good. He's flashed bad. Some of his starts, he's looked, okay, yeah, this guy can be in my rotation. Other starts, he might be a long reliever, maybe better for Sugarland at this stage of his career. But then you have other guys like, do I think Brandon Walton's going to be a star? No, but he gives you innings in a need. And then you mentioned the guys that you're going to get back, like Spencer Arrighetti belongs in a big league rotation. Now, I'm not counting on Luis Garcia and Christian Javier. Like if you get them, great. Like, I'm not saying, like, they're going to be out for the year, blah, 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 but you can't count on them. They have to prove to you that they're going to be able to help you.
Sure.
And the moment that you assume that they're going to help you is whenever it's time to call them up. I think that Dana Brown has to operate like those guys are not going to help you. I think that's where he struggled last year. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get Lance McCullers back and Luis Garcia back in the summer. And I think he made moves in the offseason that, like, prove that he expected that. This year it's been a little different, so I think he's learned a lesson there. And then you have like that young kid, Miguel Ulola, or however you pronounce his name. Like he probably deserves to be on a big league roster right now too, but they don't want to start his clock. Still working on some command. I don't think any of these guys deserve demotion. Gusto was close, but I think Gusto saved his job with his last start against the White Sox. So I'm actually not as concerned about the starting pitching than most.
Yeah,
I'm going to push back on Altuve. You want me to say that now, or do you want to push back?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The culture of this team, and they told you this in spring training, they want to be a great pitching team and a great defensive team. I think that the reason they moved Altuve to left field was two-pronged. One, it improves their infield defense, and their infield defense is critical and more important than their outfield defense, especially left field defense, because your top two starters are ground ball guys. So they want a really good defensive infield behind Hunter Brown, behind Framber Valdez, and they've told you this is our culture. So I'm good with Jose Altuve playing second base some days, maybe even most days, but not the days that Framber and Hunter Brown are pitching. So that's why I'm more second base than left field.
Yeah, because if those are the days you don't want Altuve at second base, well then in a 3-game playoff series, that might be the only 2 games you play. So like if you're gonna go that path, like do you want to have your better defense in the playoffs? Yes, you do. So that would make sense to have him in left field those days. Yeah, I do agree. I just think if you feel like you have to add and the market's not there for a second baseman, I think you have to be open to the idea of looking at left field too. I do think what you're saying is totally fair and accurate that, like, from all indications, they might be more likely to stand pat if they can't get a second baseman versus adding a left fielder. Like, I don't think they're desperately there to add at the deadline.
Maybe not. I think that they could. They could still use a left-handed bat that doesn't play every day, right? Like that would be very helpful. Shea Whitcomb pinch hit in the 9th inning the other day, and it was against a lefty, so it's a little bit different. But you're running out Jacob Melton every day right now. Like we get caught up a lot of times. Like, okay, how does this improve the 9 that we expect to be on the field? A lot of times the 9 you expect to be on the field aren't there because either they're injured or whatever the case may be. I think that they should try to improve the bench. Like I know guys are going to come back. But right now, you have 3 guys on your, maybe more, but you have 3 guys on your big league team that shouldn't be on a big league team. Like Cesar Salazar, and look, maybe Cesar Salazar, projects to be a backup catcher in the big leagues. Cool. He's your 3rd catcher right now. He's on your roster, and he never plays. He only plays in blowout games. Brendan Rodgers. Like Brendan Rodgers almost never plays, and he's been bad. So that's 2 guys that are never even getting on the field. And then you can bring up like, okay, well, is Shea Whitcomb? Like Shea Whitcomb, like barely ever plays. So you're carrying 3 guys on your roster right now that never play, never play. And look, you're going to get Jordan back, so it takes one of them off. You're going to get Chaz back, so okay, there's your second. You assume, I have no idea about DeCenzo's hand, but DeCenzo doesn't have to be a big leaguer either. He's got options. So I think that there is room to add a left-handed bat, even if he's not your everyday starter. It's just, okay, this is a 37-year-old veteran who we trust, in the 8th inning in a 1-run game that we want to go to that guy off the bench. I think it gives the spot more flexibility. I think it adds depth. Maybe it's insurance in case Jordan Alvarez goes down again. Like, he's not an Iron Man. It's probably good to have depth, even at the DH position or left field position. So I think you can add the left-handed left fielder without committing to Jose Altuve being your full-time second baseman again.
No, I think that's fair. Do you think we ever get to the point where is there a lead in the playoffs you would feel comfortable taking Jose Altuve out of games?
A lead?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like if you're up you have to be up by more than 3 runs? Like as to do a defensive replacement, to bring in a Brendan Rodgers at second base, or someone you acquire at the deadline to bring them in at left field.
Sure. I mean, they do that.
Yeah, I don't know in the playoffs, because then you're taking Jose Altuve's lineup out of the lineup.
I would
and that's
say,
what's scary, right? Is if your bullpen falters, you've now removed someone very clutch from your lineup.
I was going to say 2 runs.
2 runs? Okay.
2-run lead in the 9th. I'm willing, and it's different regular season to postseason. Completely understand. Like what you're doing June 12th isn't the same thing that you're doing October 12th. But no, I would say 2 runs, a 2-run lead, and get Altuve off the field. I think that's what got Boston in trouble.
Yeah.
In that '86 World Series, is like the manager, I forget who it was. Like their philosophy was, we take Bill Buckner out of the game late because he's not a good defensive first baseman anymore. But the manager, forget who it was, name's escaping me. We like Bill Buckner so much that he's going to stay at first base because we want him to celebrate the moment. And then ground ball through his legs. Now the game was already tied, but still.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, it's the other part of the deadline I think of is there room for the Astros to be selfish and add to a strength of this team? You have a 7-8-9 that you really trust right now. Could you go out and, to maybe solve your starter problem, actually add someone you really like in the bullpen? So that way you get into the playoffs, and let's say it is Lance McCullers in Game 3 against the Mariners in the playoffs, and it's win and go on to the ALDS. Can you put together another arm in the bullpen where you're only asking your third or fourth starter in the playoffs to only have to go 5 innings? That is where I wonder, could you add strength on strength to this team? Would be pricey again, and it will be complicated. Like, this is where I think, talking about the bullpen arm, this is where I think you have to start asking the question of, would you trade from the Major League roster? Because that, to me, is what you're really talking about here. Is would you trade one of your guys on the big league roster right now to another contending team, maybe in the National League, that feels like they can move on from a bullpen arm because it's a position of strength for them?
I wouldn't be trading a starter from my big league roster for a reliever. No, I wouldn't do that. Now, if it's like a Chas McCormick, okay, like let's have that conversation. I don't love the way the Astros have used Chas McCormick this year. I would like to have seen him play more. And it stinks that he's hurt right now because he'd be playing more because your outfield has been a little bit depleted with the Jordan injury. I know he doesn't play a ton of outfield, but that opens up some left field because Altuve DHs more. And then the injury to DeZinzo. So, yeah, Chas is missing some valuable time right now, unfortunately, because of the oblique. So that's something that I would consider. I wouldn't trade a starter for a reliever. I think there's 2 other things that you have to consider if you go down that avenue. The first one is the finances. Like, how apt do we think that Jim Crane's going to be to adding salary to go over the luxury tax? Because they're right on the cusp. Like, I don't remember the amount. Like, I know that there's a couple different services that do the payroll, and they're both very good, but they're not exact. I think one of them has him like $1.5 million with $1.5 million room before they cross the luxury tax threshold. I think there's another one that has him like around $3 million, somewhere in that range. So, like, how much is Crane going to be willing to go over that luxury tax?
Great question.
The second thing that you have to think about with the bullpen, look, they DFA'd Forrest Whitley because there's not room on the pitching staff. Like, everybody's out of options, it seems like. Well, they did go to a 6-man, so that kind of throws a wrinkle into things. But I think the only reliever that they have that has options left is Bennett Sousa. And they wanted to keep Bennett Sousa, and rightfully so, on the roster and risk losing Forrest Whitley out of their organization completely because they like their bullpen, and the bullpen has been good, top 10 in baseball. So I have a hard time thinking they would add a reliever unless there's an injury. I think that's the only way.
I think that's fair.
Plus, you're getting pitchers back. So, like, if you're getting pitchers back, we feel like Garrett Getty's a lock, so there's one. We're not going to account for Luis Garcia and Javier because, like, hey, fool me. Like, be back and great. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But if Eric Getty comes back, now you're probably moving one of those starters into a long bullpen role, so it's even more of a roster crunch. So I think it would require an injury.
Yeah, that's fair. I just wonder, like, if you can't add. It's a great question. So it looks like Cots has them at $1.9 million below the luxury tax, and then Spotrac has at 3.7. I don't know how 2 websites can have that.
All these numbers count though. Like, I think they were still paying on Greinke, and that's still some like catch.
Yeah.
Like, so it's It's confusing. I like, which one did you say? I like Cott's a little bit more.
Yeah. So if we go off that number, it's $1.9 million before they cross the threshold. I mean, Jim Crane has shown he will cross it.
Twice.
But you have to have kind of some splash with you. Like, I don't think you can't just be a dude. And, well, they don't really have the prospects to make a splash.
It usually requires sizzle. Now, relievers aren't as expensive. Like, if you're looking for a seventh-inning reliever, you can find that much more affordable than a number 3 starter. Left-handed veteran bat, I don't think it's going to cost you an arm and a leg too. Like, you can add. Now, my frustration whenever we talk about like deadline stuff is like, this is stuff we were talking about in the offseason. Like, it's much easier to get this accomplished in the offseason than it is at the deadline. And then 2, it doesn't cost you prospects. I hate when people, we didn't address this. We're going to address it at the deadline. Why would you go into the season that way? Like, to me, the trade deadline should be a spot where you're trying to add because you lost players to injury.
Yep.
I feel like you should go into the season with a complete roster. So I'm being critical of Dana Brown, and he probably didn't want to cross the luxury tax threshold opening day, but the fact that they didn't have a solid left-handed bat option on this team is silly.
Well, especially because the thing is, Jeremy, they talk about it. They talk about it all the time.
I know. Like, why wasn't this accomplished in the offseason?
Like, they acknowledge that, like, it's something that they've been talking about for 2 years now. I mean, Dana Brown, whether he's on MLB Network or, talking with Robert Ford, like, the lefty bat conversation has been a topic of conversation for him for 2 seasons now. Like, it is well known, and they have done nothing to address it.
Yeah, Gamble. And signed Gamble to a minor league deal.
Yeah.
They were doing the waiver wire fodder last year.
Yeah, Jason Hayward.
Gamble. Yeah. And, Verdugo was out there. Like, I know Verdugo didn't have a very good year, but he signed the deal with Atlanta was a minor league deal with a roster bonus if he got called up. Mm-hmm. So it's like those guys were out there for pretty cheap.
And that's where it probably puts you over the luxury tax once he gets called up, and Jim Crane doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, they signed Rogers. That was $2.5 million. That's true. So you could have had Verdugo instead of Rogers at $2.5.
Any chance that this is before we move on to the next thing, that last year we saw Dana Brown bring up Jake Beloss, and it kind of felt like an audition or a showcase for the rest of baseball. You think Melton's untouchable?
No.
I don't think so either. Like, I've seen him up in the big leagues. Who's that?
Ulola.
Yeah.
I think he's the only I think he would trade Bryce Matthews at the right deal. Like, Matthews has some things where it's like, I don't know. Like, the strikeout rate's high on him. I don't know how they feel about his defense. Like, I haven't watched him in the minors, so I don't know about his defense. Everything I see is like what I've read. But the strikeout numbers are high. Melton, same thing. Like, Melton has high strikeout numbers. He's toolsy, right? He's got power, he's got speed, he's got range. But no, I don't think there's an untouchable in this farm other than Ulola.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the way you should be handling it. Like, when you don't have an elite farm system, like, even if you do, like, you're trying to win World Series. And Jim Crane has said the window's always open as long as he owns the team, and that includes trading your prospects. And we haven't seen it bite the Astros yet. Like, the Astros don't have a Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shields trade. Like, that doesn't exist for this franchise. They don't, like, at least of this recent era.
They have Wilyer Abreu for Christian Vasquez.
Forgot about that one.
That's probably the closest one there.
Yeah, that's the closest one.
Yeah. I also feel like people take the window is always open with me way out of context. Like, the window is always open with me doesn't mean we're going to always trade from our farm to go out and trade for the best thing available. It's we want to be as good for as long as we can possibly be. So, like, in fact, I think the window is always open is like we need to build a strong farm. That way we keep the window always open.
Well, they're not good at that.
No, they're not good at that.
They haven't been good at that since basically Kyle Tucker got called up.
Yeah, I mean, they've had some things that obviously hurt them. Losing first-round draft picks, the COVID year where you only had a 5-round draft. Mm-hmm. They have been quick to trade from their farm, but they haven't lost anybody good from their farm, like you mentioned, other than I think Wilyer Abreu is probably the best that I can think of off the top of my head.
And they're the best in baseball at bringing in guys from, like, the Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. Like it's not even close. Like, half their pitching staff has come over here, it feels like, making $300,000.
Is that a long time ago, though? Like, I mean, none of those are really recent.
Well, and that guy's not here anymore, right? Like, he went to Miami and then got fired.
I think we might overrate Ozcampo a little bit.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, they didn't, I mean, yes, Ozcampo was the guy that went over and was responsible, but they didn't sign him because Ozcampo went on the table. They signed him because of their TrackMan numbers. They signed him because, like, look at this velo, look at this spin. Like, I mean, Oz delivered them the data, but would they have gotten the data if it was some other guy not named Oz?
Yeah, and the guys they have signed are so far away because like they're such low-level prospects right now that like the next Christian Javier or we don't know who he is. Like it might be a little bit before that guy gets up here.
It might be Lola. Now they're great. They're great at developing pitchers though. Like that's the one thing.
So good at
like
it.
Colton Gordon. Like he looks like a solid rotational piece. Where did he come from? UCF. Ryan Gusto. Like I mean, Jake Bloss. Like they drafted Jake Bloss and traded him a year after he was drafted and got a significant piece to a playoff run. I mean, unfortunately for him, he's got Tommy John and he's out for the year. But they develop pitching. Like that, to me, that's their best strength. Like what is the Astros' best strength currently? Their pitching development system, by far. By far.
All right, as we record this podcast, the Astros are 4 games up on both the Seattle Mariners and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of California, whatever their name is now. How many games do you think that they will win the division by?
Oh, dang. That's a bold statement to put out there on the internet. You're going to get got. A little freezing,
for what?
Freezing cold take.
What do you think? So you think they're going to lose the division this year?
No, but I don't like jinxing it like that.
That's not a jinx.
It makes me uncomfortable.
They run
the
West.
Jinx. They're going to win the division by how many games? That's jinx material.
I would have this. No,
freezing
wrong.
cold take material.
Fine. Mark it.
I hope.
Click.
I mean, I don't want you to be wrong.
You think you don't? They're going to win the division this year.
Yeah, if you put a gun to my head, I think they're going to win the division. But I'm not going to sit here. Astros are going to win the division by 20. Like I wouldn't put that bad juju on them.
That's not bad juju.
It's absolutely bad.
No,
juju.
it's not.
They're going to win the division by how many games?
They're fine. The Pope's already done rooting against them again. There's nothing else that's coming that's going to bad juju them. They'll be fine. The last time the Pope watched them play, the Astros got swept. They took at least 1 game in this series, so that's an improvement.
Was the Pope at the game?
Yeah, he's at the World Series, one of the World Series games.
Right, but he wasn't at the most
Oh,
recent
no,
series, was he?
no.
Okay, yeah.
But,
I
no.
knew he was at the World Series game. You made it sound like he was at the Dike.
No, he's
like,
been
what is the
rocking
Pope doing at the Dike?
He's been rocking his White Sox hat, though.
Has he?
Yeah, I mean, good for him. But yeah, no. So you don't.
Look, I think the Astros will win the division, but I'm not gonna be like they're gonna win the division by. I think it's bad. I think
it's bad juju.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
I didn't think you would be. I thought you would have like a spicy take for me on this one, Sherm.
I think that okay. Now, if you jinx aside, since you're forcing me to answer this question, I think they'll cruise.
Hey, you can blame me.
I think they'll cruise and win the division. Like I don't know. I wouldn't go double digits though. Like their pitching rotation's not whole. Like you're going to have some bad outings from Lance, from Gusto, from Gordon. Like you have to understand Arrighetti is going to take a little while to hopefully find his ceiling.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that it's going to be like this massive runaway, but I think that they'll lead. I think they'll win the division comfortably.
I think so too. I guess
they'll be stressing.
Part of that is I think the Angels might end up being the second best team in the division. Like as we're doing this, so. And the Mariners haven't played yet on Thursday, so it actually kind of works. The Mariners got swept by the Orioles, lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels, and got swept by the Diamondbacks. That, to me, looks like a team that in the offseason that didn't add anything to its lineup. There's rumors about trading Luis Castillo. We're seeing it sounds like guys like Alcantara are not going to get moved from the Marlins potentially because he's such a low value. Like Luis Castillo might be the best name on the market this offseason, this upcoming trade deadline in terms of starting pitching. That to me looks like a team that's going to sell and rebuild. That's part of the reason why I asked the question. Is I think it's the state of the division. It's not even necessarily a straight up compliment to the Astros, but like the Mariners, I feel like they're going to sell. The Angels are going to do nothing. Like they're being led by like Kyle Hendricks and a bunch of young guys, and yes, Mike Trout. And it's not. And the A's, who I thought were going to be a real threat this year after the way they ended the season, have totally collapsed on themselves. Oh, and the Rangers are a joke, who might also sell.
I mean, all those 3 teams are. The division's not good.
Yeah.
The division, you can make the case, is the worst division in baseball. There's no argument there, right?
I think it's pretty clear.
As we talk today, there's only 1 team above 500,
and it's the Astros.
And that's the only division in baseball where that exists. So it's clearly the worst division in baseball. Now, if I'm making an argument for a competitive race in the division, you do have 4 teams that are bunched together by less than 6 games.
That's true.
So like it would take it. Like, do I think any of those 3 will really be competitive with the Astros? Because I don't think the Astros have played their best ball either. I think that they have a streak where they're going to kind of pull away. But everybody's kind of within arm's reach. And if one team gets hot, wins 9 out of 10 games, or they have a stretch, then all of a sudden they're the one that's competing with you. And because there's 3 teams that are within 6 games, it increases the odds that one team can do that.
Yeah, and the Angels are specifically one of those teams that I feel like they're just a little bit of a wild card in terms of could they see the division in reach and do something like go out and try to add like big pieces at the deadline. I don't think they would be. I feel like they're a stand pat team. I'm still kind of crossing my fingers that we get one Mike Trout playoff run somewhere else or somewhere in his lifetime. So I'm still hoping at some point he goes, can you guys let me go and trade me somewhere in the National League and, let me try to win in Philly or something like that. But I just think to me it's really just a reflection of the division. And that's why I asked the question. I think they're going to win this thing, I would say at a minimum by 6 games.
Okay.
And that's a minimum. I don't think, and I think it can be a lot more than that because of what's happening in the division. And they haven't really played a ton of divisional games. They've got a lot. I know it's different now, but they've still got a lot left to go this year. I mean, you got 4-game series versus the Athletics coming up and a 3-game with the Angels, and they can pull away pretty easily, I think, even before the All-Star break.
So you go with the Angels as the surprise runner-up in the division.
I think the Mariners are going to sell. Yeah.
See, I think it's the Rangers. Like,
you think they still figure it out a little bit?
I mean, a little, enough to be the runner-up. Like,
they did that last year.
Yeah,
they made a run.
They have pieces, and they've played really bad, and yet they're a game and a half out of second place. And DeGrom's healthy. So, do I think that their offense is going to be as bad as it has been? No, probably not.
Well, no, I mean,
as we're get a little bit better.
As we're recording, they've scored 13 runs in a game.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't hate the Rangers. I wonder what the value is on that. I don't even know if they take those kind of bets, but I wouldn't sleep on the Rangers being the second best team in the AL West by the end of the year because they've been so bad their first 70 games, yet they're a game and a half out of second place. I think that they could finish second in the AL West.
Yeah, I guess the reason why, just kind of as we're talking about the deadline and everything, I've been trying to read. It's just everyone keeps bringing up like Eovaldi.
Yeah.
As a guy that they might move on from this year, and they just re-signed him to a $75 million deal this offseason. So if they're going to blow it up a little bit, because they have a lot of good young pieces, I think they're probably frustrated with how little success they've had since they've won a World Series.
Sure.
So yeah, they're an interesting team, and and last year they came on strong last year, and yeah, that's probably fair. I could see them coming on strong as well. I just feel like eventually the Astros, to what you said earlier too, have not played their best baseball yet. They're up, a handful of games without Yordan Alvarez. So it feels like once he's back, eventually, whenever that is, they can really get this thing rolling.
I think so too. I don't think the offense especially has played nowhere near their capability. You've had some players that have been good. Peña's been really good. Meyer's been really good for his standard. Isak's been good. Altuve's been fine. Mm-hmm. But Christian Walker, the guys that you expected to be in the middle of your order have done nothing for you. Yainer Diaz has been a little bit better the last month than the first month. He's nowhere near his ceiling. Christian Walker had a good game earlier this week. He has been nowhere near his ceiling. Yordan Alvarez has done nothing.
Literally.
So those are your 3 sluggers, your 3 middle of the order type guys who have done nothing for you, yet you're still in first place by a few games. So it's if the offense gets clicking, and then you marry that with the top of the rotation pitching you have and the back end of the bullpen that you have, I do think that there is a tear in them that is possible.
Astros currently a -170 betting favorite to win the AL West. The Mariners are +260 with the Rangers +550, the Angels +2,000, and the Athletics I don't have my glasses on, 40,000. So the Athletics season is
If you had to
over.
pick one and it's not the Astros, who would you pick?
Based on betting value?
Yeah, their odds.
Seattle Angels.
See, I would go with Texas.
Just because I like the +2,000. They're right in it right now.
I mean, it's almost 4 times the value of Texas.
Yeah,
it's
so
almost 10 times the value.
But
of Seattle.
if not that, I go Rangers +550.
I would go Rangers over Seattle.
It's not Seattle. I'm out on Seattle.
Seattle's pitching is really good, but the problem is they have pitchers that are hurt. So it's okay, you're starting to pluck away from the strength of your team with these injuries. How are you going to be able to sustain winning? And the last couple of weeks, they've not been able to.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break here. Let's hear from our friends at Blue Star Tequila so they can teach you what night harvesting tequila is all about.
In the highlands of Jalisco, as the fierce heat of day fades into dusk, the sun dips below the horizon, and our jimadores begin their work. Harvesting our precious agave azul beneath the glow of stars, while the night air is cool and calm. Away from the harsh heat of the sun, we protect our agave's freshness, locking in essential natural properties and sweetness, and preserving its unique flavor profile. This world-first practice has been warmly embraced by our jimadores, who relish the soothing embrace of evening's cool air as they work beneath the moonlight. 100% agave azul, night harvested, unfiltered, and additive-free. We invite you to taste the Blue Star difference.
All right, so you just learned what Blue Star Tequila and night harvesting is all about. We've got a bottle of tequila available for you right now at our office. All you have to do is, Jeremy is going to ask you a trivia question. You're going to comment on the YouTube channel and answer the question. The first 2 people that get correct will win a Blue Star bottle of tequila. I will reach out to you via social media, so you'll find us there to get the info. So, Jeremy, what is our trivia question?
Who is the Astros all-time leader in wins from a left-handed starting pitcher?
That's a good question.
Which left-handed starting pitcher has the most wins in Astros franchise history?
If while we were in break, you didn't tell me the answer, I never would have got it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean,
Ever.
Well, I don't want to give away hints.
I'm still learning.
Like, you might be giving away hints.
It's fine. We didn't say we were not giving out hints. We're a friendly podcast. We like our listeners who watch us every week on YouTube or on the radio from 6 to 7. So, you know.
The reason that I know
It's also Google. If you can't find it yet.
It's on the internet.
It's a race to answer it first. That's all it is. All right, let's talk about a couple of.
Do you want to know why I know that?
Well, why do you know the actual answer?
Because I had a take the other day that Framber Valdez is the greatest left-handed starter in Astro franchise history.
Okay. Now, without giving it away, bigger picture question here. We got a couple things left to hit on the show. So I know you're JV #1 of all time, though, right, for Astros pitching?
So I haven't looked at it since last year, and I know that he kind of faded down the stretch a little bit. Like,
Sure.
I wonder if he faded enough to move down from #1.
Interesting.
I would probably bet not. Like, I still think he is #1, but he led the Astros in ERA for a while.
Yeah.
And now he does not because of how he finished.
Which that kind of sucks. But that's how end of careers work in a lot of ways. It's almost like for the Hall of Fame and things like that, they need like a cutoff point.
But I mean, it was one of his selling points because
Yeah.
he doesn't
Yeah.
have the volume of a lot of other starters because he wasn't here as long. Like, he didn't have the wins of Royo.
Sure.
He didn't have the strikeouts because he wasn't here forever. My case was always that he had one of the best ERAs, one of the best average numbers like WHIP and stuff like that, strikeouts, like all that stuff. But he was also the anchor, or you can make the case he wasn't the anchor in 22, but was the anchor, or at least one of the top starters on your only 2 World Series wins in Astros history. So, like,
Absolutely.
I value championships. Like, is it the end all be all? No.
But it matters.
But whenever you're having conversations with the all-time greats like Justin Verlander, Roy Oswalt, let's just throw those 2 names out there. If they're pretty similar, well, I'm going to give the edge to the guy that won 2 World Series as opposed to the guy who only went to 1 World Series. And that's not a knock. I mean, Roy Oswalt was my favorite pitcher ever.
So if that's the top, and Framber's the #1 lefty, how far is Framber up on that list overall?
Yeah, I haven't really crunched the numbers on that.
He'll have to crunch the numbers on that one later.
If I just went off the top of my head, I think he would be right around the top 10.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, imagine someone saying to trade him. What a crazy take that would be. One thing you have been crunching the numbers on, or at least tweeting about, you believe the Christian Walker breakout is happening.
Yeah.
So you feel good about where the Astros are at now with the first base position, or that it will really get clicking in full swing here pretty soon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's worth $20 million a year or $60 million over 3.
Sure.
But no, I've been pretty. I don't want to oversell this. I've been okay-ish on the at-bats that Christian Walker's been putting together. A lot of people just look at the result, like, he's 0 for 3. Oh, he struck out in a big spot. Oh, all that stuff. But then if you watch every at-bat, really this entire month, Walker's been hitting missiles right at people. Like I look at Baseball Savant during the games. Like he's been hitting the ball 100 miles per hour exit velos right at people a couple of times a game. So it's like, okay, law of averages. Keep doing what you're doing, hitting the ball hard. Eventually, you're going to see the numbers come up. So yeah, I'm good with where Walker's at. Obviously, not good with the production, not good with the numbers that he's given you. But I'm not of the opinion that Christian Walker's a lost soul and you're not going to get anything out of first base. I do think that he's going to be a positive for the Astros the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, the contract it's not going to be good, I don't think, but I don't think it's ever going to be as bad as Jose Abreu, at least not for this season and next season. We'll see how year 3 works out. But yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of signs. The contact is there more in a way than like we ever saw with Jose Abreu. I think some big home runs have made fans feel generally more positive with Christian Walker. Like you're seeing some clutch moments from him as well. Because it did like bring up, some of the trade deadline stuff that people were talking about. I was like, do the Astros need to acquire another first baseman? So that like at some point, like if you're in the playoffs and you don't want him out there, like do you have a backup option? And like,
Yeah.
I think at this point, like that feels like a waste unless he can play. And now you could acquire a lefty that could play first base and left field.
Yeah, that's where you would go because that gives you more flexibility than it's basically taking the DeZinzo role, where DeZinzo's like a corner outfielder, first baseman, backup for both.
Yeah.
But it would help the roster if it was a lefty because
Yes.
there's not just the diversity of handedness on your bench. So no, I think that'd be a good addition. Like he's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's a guy who can play left, can play first, and can pitch hit late in games. And it gives you insurance in case Walker struggles. It gives you insurance in case Iron Man Yordan Alvarez is unavailable.
He'll be back eventually, right?
Yeah, he'll be back.
He's 80% now?
I'm not worried about him being back.
You're worried about him staying?
Yeah, how could you not be?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the black cloud that's going to hang over Yordan Alvarez for the rest of his career.
Unfortunately, and it doesn't feel like gosh, I hate to do this to him. It's like McCullers. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Now, the eliteness of Yordan is obviously a different level than Lance, but even if you make him a permanent DH, which they seem to have done here now with Altuve being in left field, because I think obviously in a perfect world, you would make Altuve your permanent DH and you would have a better left fielder and a better second baseman, but you have Yordan Alvarez on this team. It's at this point where you can't rely on him throughout an entire season, and you just hope he's there when it matters most. And which he has been in his career. So like that's the thing with Yordan. As long as he's there when the playoffs start, we're all good. It's if you miss playoff time, that's when like it's
Agreed.
I
think it goes with the
nerve-wracking.
territory. Like it goes with the territory of who Yordan Alvarez is. Like you have to. We joke around on the show that he has like 20 days of PTO. Like that's who he is. Just you can't use those PTO days in the postseason.
Yeah.
And look, he also signed a team-friendly deal. Like I can live with your like. Would you take Yordan Alvarez playing 125 games a year and available in the postseason with the amount of money that he's making? Of course you would. So that's something that you have to consider. That's something that you have to keep in mind.
Real quick here before we wrap up today's show, potential Cy Young candidate I want to throw out your way. Now this person's odds are not listed, so he's very low on these lists because he's not on them. Obviously Hunter Brown and Fromber are. Is there a chance Josh Hader puts himself in the Cy Young conversation this year? Very few and far between, bullpen pitchers have won it or really been in it. But as we do this, he's got a 1.29 ERA this year. He's only given up 4 earned runs. He's been absolutely fantastic this season. I just wonder, could he put himself in position to actually be a Cy Young candidate?
No.
Really?
No. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the Cy Young voting the last 5 years or so, recent memory, recent history. When was, give me some examples of closers being in the top 5 in Cy Young voting in either league in the last 5 years. You got to, it's gotten so far away from, what it used to be. Voters used to value wins, and they used to value saves. Now they value, WAR. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot different than it used to be. And if you just look at, the WAR leaders, top 10 in baseball, top 10 in the American League, not even baseball, just top 10 in the American League, you currently have to have at least a 2.2 WAR to be top 10 in the American League. Hader's at 1.6. Like, you just don't pitch enough innings to really unless he was pitching 2 innings a night and going out there every other day, which I don't really want him to do.
No, I don't
Because it
either.
exposes him to injury and stuff like that. I don't think there's any chance. He's been great. He's been maybe with one of the best relievers in baseball, but a contender for Cy Young, no. Does he get like a vote or two? Potentially, but not a true contender.
Yeah, I mean, the last one was Eric Gagne, 55 saves.
That was to win it.
to win it, yeah.
Like, I wonder when the last time to finish top 5.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, what would it be to be a contender? Like, to be a contender, you got to be top 5.
I think you have to.
You can't get a few votes.
I think for Hader to like be in the contender conversation, and really it's more of just like this is more of a giving him his flowers for how great he's been this year, I would say. But he'd have to probably get over 35 saves.
Oh, yeah.
And his ERA would have to be below a 1.3.
Probably.
To be like, to get real votes. Because you have to, because you're not going to win it, because Schoolball's going to win it again in the American League. I have almost no doubt about that in my mind. But like, you have to have, maybe 40 saves. Like, you have like almost like a quarter of the season at that point of just like, you're there to save the day a fourth of this time for a baseball team. Like, and be nearly perfect. I mean, you think back to the year again, Gagne won. He was perfect basically that entire year to win it. So I think he'll get, if he continues at this pace, he'll get a vote or two.
Oh, sure.
He won't be a contender, but he'll be listed.
Like, Class A finished 3rd last year.
Okay.
But he was also, Skubal ran away with it. Skubal was 210 votes, 30. He had 30 first place votes, which is all of them. Every person who voted for the Cy Young last year, 30 of them, all voted for Skubal. So Class A wasn't really even in the race. He finished 3rd, but he didn't get a first place vote. Like, I don't know if that's the race. And if you look at Skubal or Class A's year last year, he had an 0.61 ERA. 0.61.
That's crazy.
He led the American League in saves, 47. So he had 47 saves, 0.61 ERA. That was good for 3rd place and 0 first place votes.
Yeah.
Like, I think modern era baseball, where everything's like analytical and you need a good WAR and it's hard for closers to get WAR because they don't pitch enough innings. I think it's next to impossible for a closer to be a Cy Young.
I think so too, and specifically because of what's happening at the top of the league. Also, like, I think you have to have a little bit of help. Like, think back to like the Rick Porcello year when he won 20 games, but he had like a 4 ERA and he won the Cy Young. Like, you kind of need that season to be happening around you to really qualify for it this year. But if you look at like just ERA as a baseline, I mean, you have Eovaldi, Hunter Brown, Max Fried, Chris Bubick, Jake DeGrom, Turek Skubal, Drew Rasmussen. Like, all those guys represent just the American League in ERA on the year. So there's a lot more competition now with how great pitching's been. But I think he'll be deserving to be at least maybe one of the bullpen guys.
I think he's up for like Fireman of the Year. Whatever. What do they call that? They call it, I think in the American League. Well, it used to be. I think they changed it to the Mariano Rivera in the AL.
That's
fine.
fine.
I think it's called the Trevor Hoffman in the NL.
I think that, yeah, he'll be towards the top of that one.
I think he could win it.
Never seen you can't wager on that one? I've never seen that. Is that a real award?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There used to be a reliever of the year award.
Sprinkle
and then I think that
Josh Hader on there.
Yeah, I've never been able to. I don't think I've ever seen it as a betting option though.
That's lame. And that's not a real award. That's like comeback player of the year in the NFL. Can't bet on that. Everyone voted for DeMar Hamlin. They got it wrong, right?
That was so weird. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be on the field. That was weird.
Yeah, because it came out of nowhere that they did that. All right, that will do it for this episode of Inside the Icebox here on the ESPN Houston YouTube channel. We're here every single Friday talking all things Houston Astros. Plus, you can hear the radio version of this show from 6 to 7 p.m. on Fridays as soon as Jeremy is done yapping on the Killer Bees. Remember, this episode is brought to you by Blue Star Tequila, the world's first and only night harvested tequila at its unfiltered natural best. You can find out more near you at bluestartequila.com. That will do it for us. Talk to you next week. Goodbye.